trying to find a time that it's going to overlap with classes and all that. So we have less than half of our students here at this point, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So all this is going to be is, hopefully if everybody shows up, we have 7 presentations, student by student. Everybody that went to China this past summer, we were there for about 2 weeks. So everybody's going to give 5 to 7 minutes, just what they saw, what they learned, what they thought. Hopefully learn something about it. There's ongoing study abroad trips pretty much every year at this point, so think about it. Is there anything about table stuff?
I was also on the trip to China with our students, and when you have time after maybe the talks, you can walk by the table. Those are a bunch of things that we bought or made in China, just to kind of get an idea of what is there as little souvenirs. If you have any questions, ask the students, and mostly me, because those are my stuff and my son's. My son was also there because the program that we went to for the China trip allowed students from 14 to 45 to go, and he couldn't stay alone over the summer, so he came and he enjoyed it so much that after seeing all the students in this big university where we were driving their electrical bikes, he bought an electrical bike so he can drive around, and it's very convenient. If you haven't tried them, go ahead. I also want to thank our president, Dr. Johnston, and our vice provost, Dr. Abbott. They came to listen to our presentations. 30 more students showed up, so we're really in a good shape now. And we're going to start, so please keep your phones away. This is like a class. Everybody that attends my classes knows phones away. Let's focus on the presentation and maybe generate some questions that you can ask the students, because in the end we're going to have a few minutes for asking questions directly to students about their experience or what they think about the trip, China, etc. So enjoy.
Who's up first? Is this on? Yeah.
All right. How's everybody doing today? Good? All right. So during my time in China, I really wanted to look at the architecture of everything that we saw in the country. The different buildings have a lot of history built into them, not just the way they look. So let's talk about that. Our first stop for the trip was the Shaolin Temple. It was founded in 495 AD. It was the birthplace of Buddhism and Kung Fu, and it features a pagoda forest, which is a main cemetery for revered monks. It also doubles as a spiritual center and a school for people that go there. They also practice Kung Fu there, and I thought that was really exciting that they could have a multi-purpose building like that. Our next stop was the Forbidden City. It was built between 1406 and 1420. It contained thousands of rooms. I mean, if you saw it, it was a massive place. And the most exciting thing I saw there was the different animals they had on the tops of every building to denote how important it was. My favorite building was the Greenland Plaza. It's a modern skyscraper that reaches 280 meters tall. It was massive, and it has solar reflectors and smart ventilation that I think reflects the growth of the country. Last but not least was the Great Wall of China. It stretches over 21,000 kilometers, and we had the pleasure of climbing it and spending time just walking along the architecture. It contained defensive measures such as watchtowers and beacons, and it's made from stone, tamped earth, and brick. I'd like to thank everyone who was on the trip, who made this experience possible for me, and I hope that you guys have a great time if you go. I already said at the beginning, I really liked how everything was different and had a lot of history built into it. Any questions? All right, thank you.
What's up?
Hello everybody, Ni hao. My name is Fatima, and my love for Chinese historical dramas is what led me to explore China and its culture. Chinese art is heavily influenced by the country's spiritual beliefs and its rich history. Through the study abroad program, I had the opportunity to explore China's culture through its art. So our first stop is the Shaolin Temple. This is located in Henan, China, where Kung Fu originated. It has combat strategies and focuses on balancing physically and mentally. Kung Fu involves animal-like movements. We enjoyed an amazing show at the Shaolin Temple exhibiting their art. So as you can see in this slide, it showcases the animal-like Kung Fu stances. It's the leopard, crane, tiger, and scorpion. It requires immense physical strength. This slide shows the martial artist uses only his physical and mental strength to balance on a spear and is rotated till it slows down. This is a true display of pure physical strength and mental endurance, not to give up. This slide shows where the martial artist uses a silver of wood as a dart that pierces through a pane of glass. The silver of wood is taken from the ginkgo tree, which is approximately 1400 years old, that grows on the premise of the Shaolin Temple. Next is the tea culture, or diancha, which is very important in the Chinese culture. Cha means tea. The Chinese tea ceremony is a meticulous ritual that encompasses history, art, and etiquette. It is a fundamental act of hospitality, symbolizing welcome, respect, and appreciation. These are the tools that are used for the tea ceremony, which is the whisk, white tea powder. The bowl is made of porcelain, a teaspoon, which is made of silver or copper, and whisk that is made of bamboo. The Chinese tea ceremony it's very important, so everything has to be right. The water has to be the right temperature. We use white tea with very little water. It is infused with a bamboo whisk. So in this slide, you see where the teacher is instructing one of her classmates on how to make the tea. There are a total of 7 infusions and requires vigorous strength, and it's also an art form, so it's done with a delicacy. We enjoyed our traditional tea ceremony with cookies, fruit, and cherry tomatoes, we enjoyed the tea in their traditional cups. Next is Tai Chi. Like I mentioned, Tai Chi is a form of Kung Fu. It is an ancient Chinese martial art and exercise system. My first introduction to Tai Chi was at the Cultural Center where the students performed. And as you can see, that was our Tai Chi professor, as we got to learn Tai Chi as well. In these slides, you get to see us practicing Tai Chi. It emphasizes the movement of Qi, which is vital energy through movement, breath, and mental focus. It's known for its slow, flowing movements, practice for health, fitness, and self-defense. We did it. We practiced it, we did it, and then we have the experts showing off their moves. Next is calligraphy. So as some of you are aware, with Chinese students, they don't learn how to write anymore. It's more pinyin and able to recognize and read characters. So calligraphy is a very important art form. Writing of a visual art and interpretation of the literary meaning. It's a highly sought after skill and a hobby. Here we are learning the famous Chinese folk song called Mo Li Hua. It's about a jasmine flower. Lastly, this is a picture of two of our classmates who performed the dragon dance. Dragons are considered auspicious in Chinese culture as it represents power, dignity, and wisdom. The dragon dance is performed during festivities as a form of celebration. Being able to witness the Chinese culture and integrate with the students was better than the Chinese dramas. It opened my world to a culture and people that have immense history, are technologically advanced, and a perfect blend of ancient and modern. It helped me realize that even in our differences, there are similarities, and we win when we collaborate together. What made this journey truly memorable were my classmates in both the countries. So thank you so much for this amazing experience, and thank you to our staff members and faculty, especially Dr. I and Dr. Midor, that made this an amazing experience. So thank you all. And my classmates, thank you so much.
You don't have to wait for me to ask. You know somebody's next. Just get up.
Hello, my name is Megan Sanford, and I chose to focus on understanding student life in China. I chose this topic because one day I would like to teach abroad, and I wanted to see what student life was really like outside of the U.S. And visiting China gave me the experience to see those differences firsthand. So daily life, in each dorm room, there's usually about 4 to 6 students. And one of the things I first noticed was the long, demanding schedules of the students. They usually start really early in the morning and end pretty late at night with additional study time after classes. And then also they enjoy things after the classes like swimming, hanging out with friends. And some of the students emphasized how important it was to stay competitive because of the job market. So they take up extra activities and earn certifications so they can stay ahead of everyone else. Another thing that we know a lot about, we hear a lot about from China is the academic pressure. And each student that I spoke with, they emphasized how life-changing or life-defining the Gaokao is, which is like their college entrance exam. These are actually pictures that they shared with me from different meetings that they had in preparation for their exam. A lot of them also emphasized how important their relationships are with their teachers, how in earlier grades it's more like a parent figure, and once they get into high school and college level, it's more like a respected mentor, and they have very formal relationships with their teachers. But outside of that, the social life is really group-oriented. They often work together in groups in and outside of the classroom. Studying with classmates seems to be a big part of their social life. Where here at home, it's usually something we do on our own, or we have different groups of friends outside of school or work or whatever it may be. They also each emphasized how big of a role their family plays in their education. Many of the students I spoke to said that their parents were heavily involved in their education, often checking their progress and encouraging them to work harder. And you know, here our parents, they are supportive, but it's usually left to figure out on our own. And here were a few things the students had to say, that even though you don't get great results, you can find other ways to be who you want to be. And overall, it felt like the Chinese student life felt more structured and demanding compared to what we're used to. But at the same time, I could see how hardworking and disciplined the students were, and it was pretty admirable. And then, even though our systems are different, I did realize that students everywhere, we share the same goals, wanting to succeed, make friends, and build a good future. And visiting China gave me that perspective on how much effort students put into their education. And I'm also very grateful to GSW and HIST for making such a memorable experience possible. Thank you.
Hi. My topic is on the cultural significance and how people are proud of their culture. So, as we know, every single country has its own culture, right? From the powerful America we live in, to the Roman Empire, to the Aztecs in Mexico, right? But China is not something else or different in a way. It has its own culture and a very rich history. It starts from many, many years ago, and I think it's one of the most important things of their own culture is that they have lived through so many things. As well as we have a bad history, they also have it. They have a painful past. They have fear and issues they had to go through. But from those issues and from those problems, pain, fear, they created new things that are worth celebrating and sharing with others. There wasn't a single day that we were at the country where we felt pushed away or not accepted. We experienced so many times what they lived through, so many times what they saw, what they lived, what they ate, what they saw in every moment in their lives. And I think it's really important to think how many of us in a daily life would simply say to a stranger that maybe we just met a few moments ago, hey, come to my house, or hey, you wanna sit with me? Hey, you wanna eat with me? I think that's something that we as culture, we don't have that much present in our lives. I think we're more closed off to each other, and we like to do our own separate things. But with them, they accepted us. They showed us how they lived, and how much it was important to them to share the culture with one another. While I was there, one of the volunteers said something really special to me. She said that the meaning of life is to enjoy to the fullest. Life is only 30,000 days, therefore, we should maintain a sense of curiosity and desire for exploration and everything. And to me, that really stuck. Before this, I was an online person. I stayed in my room 24/7, did barely enough to pass classes, and I didn't have any inspirations at all. I mean, to me, it was just pass, have my little degree, and I'll figure it out later. But going to China, it showed me how much beauty there's in the outside world, how much it's important for us to go out, meet people, and more importantly, that not everything is just the fun we have at the moment, but what we learn about what we feel and how important are the moments we create, as they're not just a moment. They're gonna be history that we keep within ourselves for so many years. It doesn't matter if we forget what happened on a specific day, on June 16th. It matters how we felt it and how beautiful it is to just go outside and create those memories with people we care about. My favorite memory was a day we saw a culture performance. They dressed us with traditional clothes, taught us what they meant. But more importantly, while on that cultural performance, there was this girl, one of the volunteers, who was screaming, he was yelling, clapping. She was so full of life that I think that really like stuck with me, the way she viewed life, the way she didn't think of, you know, what others might think of me or what, oh, somebody might just think I'm childish or foolish. No, she was enjoying it. She was laughing, she was clapping. Not only her, many of other people was just enjoying it so much, and that really stuck with me. She saw the beauty of life, something that I had lost many, many times before. And I think that's really something that I want to become, something that I want to be able to share with others. The beauty of life is not just, oh, well, how beautiful the flower is, how beautiful this tree is. The beauty of life is the moments we create with one another. The beauty of life is the people we met, the times we share with one another. And I think on China, I gained a little piece back. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Haley. I did my study of the Chinese cuisine and how it compares to what we find here in America. So first, I wanted to share some of the common foods. What we would consider a delicacy there is stuff like the duck, which you can see in the right-hand corner. They served a lot of duck. It was often served with toppings that you could kind of make into a little wrap. We also saw a lot of fish, a lot of poultry like chicken, and then a lot of soups and a lot of vegetables. Some of the common flavor profiles, they often had a lot of spice and a lot of vinegar flavor to it. They served chili paste and vinegar at every restaurant and every place that we dined at throughout our trip. There wasn't a lot of what we would consider sweet, like you'd find here at Chinese restaurants, like your honey chicken, your sesame chicken. You didn't really see that there. It was definitely a lot more savory, a lot more spicy foods. As far as how it compares to American Chinese food, it is honestly just not the same. It's not the same foods you find at all. I didn't really see any common foods that you'd find in a Chinese American restaurant here. The closest thing, I think, would be the bento box we had for lunch one day at the hotel we were staying at. That was the only sweet chicken dish I believe we had, and still it was served with stuff like shrimp and broccoli, fried egg, just things you would not see here. It was just completely different flavor profile, completely different types of food that they served. And then I wanted to share my favorite foods, which I really enjoyed the dumplings. We actually got to take a class and learn how to make the dumplings homemade, and I really liked that. In the little dish, you can see that's vinegar. Like I said, it served a lot with the foods there. And then also, I like the different pastas and noodle bowls that they served us. They all typically had a pretty similar flavor of broth. I liked how the noodles were created. And I also just want to share my favorite part of the trip, which was being able to go to the mountains. These mountains were so old and just huge and breathtaking when you got to see them. Nothing compares to it. The pictures don't even really do it justice. And while we were there, we also got to see a wild monkey. That was probably is my favorite part of the trip. It actually ended up scaring me because it ran right at me. And then lastly, I just wanted to share my personal impact of this trip. So this was my first opportunity ever getting a chance to leave the southeastern United States, my first time on an airplane. I thought to myself, hey, let's go halfway around the world. That's a great idea for the first plane ride. And it was. I'm so glad that this was my first experience outside of the States. They were so hospitable, so welcoming. It's just something you won't get to experience in any other kind of trip in any other way. Being able to stay on campus at his university and connecting with the students is unforgettable, and I'm so grateful I have that experience.
My name is Temple, and I did my project on Chinese infrastructure. The main reason why I chose Chinese infrastructure was to see how China used their infrastructure to lift their population out of poverty and become one of the strongest economic powers in the world today. So to start off, about the city of Shaixing. Shaixing has a population of around 6.2 million people. Chinese cities in general experience a massive surge in infrastructure. As you can tell, with these high-rise buildings, because China has a large population of people, they have to build up instead of out. So in every city we went from Shaixing, Luoyang to Beijing, every city we went to had these very tall residential buildings as well as very coastal cities. If you can see in the top left corner, in front of the residential building, you have what will be their version of, I guess, their parking lot. Because they don't have a lot of spaces to build parking lot considered in America, they have to park in front of their residential buildings and sometimes along the streets. So this is the city of Zhangguo. It has a population of 13.1 million people. And as you can see, it was a well-planned city back, it was planned back in 2001 by a Japanese architect. As you can see, it has many residential buildings as well as different layouts. The infrastructure around Zhangguo was probably one of the best I've ever seen. It's a really well-kept and clean city. And that kind of goes to show about all the Chinese cities they went to, they were really well-kept, real clean, like well-planned. One thing I will say is that they are, you can tell the kind of planned city because all the roads are wide and like brand new. They're not narrow roads that we see in other countries. So as far as the transportation, we took a high-speed train and then a subway. On a high-speed train, we took that from Beijing to Henan and Henan back to Beijing. It grew to about, at top of that speed, about 200 miles an hour, if I remember. And then when we were in, I believe, Zhangguo, we took the subway. And in the Chinese subway, they're very clean, they're very respectful people. As you can see, they have something I haven't seen compared to American subways is they have these barriers along the platform to make sure people don't actually fall in, which is what you would think would be common sense in America, but we don't really have a lot of that, at least I haven't seen. So it kind of shows that, they're one step ahead of us. And if you see in the bottom middle, cars are parked on the side of the street. Because China has so many people and not enough parking, they have to park. People who live in residential towers have to actually park on the side of the busy streets, and they have to come and get their cars early, before 6 or 7 in the morning, so they don't cause traffic and block up the roads. So as far as maintenance and projects, Henan province invested over $130 billion, which is 933 trillion yuan into railways and highways. They maintain public infrastructure through upgrades and expansions. The cleanliness in China, or to maintaining infrastructure in general, is clean, but in China, they take that to a step further. As you can see, they have in Henan province, at the university and as well as throughout the provinces, they have multiple. You will see vehicles cleaning the streets, disinfecting the air, trying to get rid of the air pollution, as well as people just coming out of the community and sweeping around, making sure dirt and their infrastructure is nice and clean. So the Red Flag Canal was a infrastructure project in Henan province that took place between 1960 and 1970. It took roughly around 300,000 Chinese workers, and the goal of it was to carve a canal through the northern province of Henan to help the farmers and the people in the northern province of Henan to get irrigation for water and supply them with drinking water. one of the things that were unique about it is how the Chinese people were able to come together and as a community and as a Henan province, they came together and did this project strictly by themselves. They didn't have that much government funding, so it was really more of a large-scale community-wide project. So how did China lift its population out of poverty? China's, in between 2011 and 2013, China poured 6.6 million metric tons of concrete, which is more concrete than the U.S. poured between the 1900s and 1999. They invest heavily into the public infrastructure as well as education, like gyms, schools, and smart parks. As you can see on the right, that was a public available smart park that they had almost everywhere in China, where people would just go and work out, get exercise in, and become a better person. So culture-wise, China, they have tradition rooted in ancient China. The Henan province we were in, they have quiet hours from 12 to 3 p.m. Basically what quiet hours are is if you are a student worker or if you're just a laborer, from 12 o'clock to 3 p.m. it's like a little break time, so they can go home, go eat lunch, or just do whatever. It's kind of it's like a nice little rest period that the whole province of Henan has took up. The Chinese people, I've noticed, are very prideful. They're very prideful to be Chinese, no matter what you are, whether you're the lowest person in Chinese society or the highest ranking. You can have a sense that they're proud to be Chinese and proud to be who they are. They're very respectful people. There's not a single time in China where I didn't feel like I wasn't invited. Me being, I guess, a black person in China, I was treated very well. They were very curious because they don't see a lot of meat people over there, so that was kind of interesting. And as collectivism, the Chinese or whole Asian culture, they're collective. They are about the community more versus the individual. That's something real prideful that the Chinese would take pride in. And that's it. Sashi.
All right, I think we got everybody, right? Unless Shane's joining. She did. Shams, can you hear me?
Yes, do you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you so much.
The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, this is Shams Nikokar. I'm living in Washington, D.C. I choose public transportation in China during the 2 weeks. And I will discuss about why transit is matters, how I collected insight, and how difference in the urban and regional on campus, and also community perspective, what stood out, and my last slide will be final reflection. So why transit is matters? So when we arrive in China, so this picture is from there, and it's really drives growth and equity and supports sustainability goals and connects community very well and smoothly. And how I did collected insights about, as my others fellows said, we ride the metro, high-speed train, buses, bike, and I also did an interview with the students and locals when we were in the field. I observed daily travel patterns when we did a field visit. So for urban transit highlights, so the metro was clean when we take a ride, cheap and QR-based systems, and high-speed train was very fast. And when we travel from Beijing to Henan, it takes we get there within very few hours. So it was really magic, and And the smart traffic lights is really a good innovations for with full surveillance. It is really impact the time for the riders and public transporters. So on the other regional and campus transit. So when we were in the campus, we used the shared bags, e-bags and common. And neighborhood was really a convenience for public secure charging. And as I said, it was more digitalized and pure for apps for access and payment. And community perspectives during my interview with the community and field visits in Henan and temples. So they really like to have more digital signage and real-time information, especially in rural area and remote. And also expanding app-based services will impact also for the community, and also manage rising urban traffic. So its population is growing and they concern for that. And one of the students said, to me, is really affordable, easy to charge and safe to park anywhere when they're using the current transportation in campus. And what stood out, so cities fully digitalized, fast, reliable, and rural practical, low cost, improving the transportations. As you see these pictures, is really giving what stand out over there, and it's really strong public support for innovations and cooperative with the governments, and also the students is really happy from the convenience of transportations when they get to the anywhere. And my last slide, which is a final reflection, what I found, China systems integrates mobility across diverse regions, and from high-speed rail to share bikes, it supports sustainability and equity, and continued investment in tech design and safety is a key that I found in the NN Institute and from the students. So thank you so much, Dr. I and Dr. Nader. It was great study abroad. It was my first time over there. Thank you so much. It was great.
All right, that is the end of our presentations. Does anybody have a question for the students or sort of about in general? Anything?
Yeah, I would say I would like so the students to feel a little more at ease to ask you questions. All of you to come over here so they can see who you are, and maybe the students have particular questions to each one of you, or you can just share experiences. Usually that's how we do things. And as they're coming, I would like to say, we did so much more than it can be shown in 5 minutes presentation. Every day was busy with activities, travel, experiences with the local students and faculty. So we didn't have a minute free. We got so many experiences, and the students can tell you a lot more. Those were their projects that they focused on to research while they're there, but they can tell you a lot more about their personal experience there, what they really, really like. So go ahead, please ask them questions.
I have two. How many cities do you go to, and about how long do you get to spend in each city?
So most of our trips were day trips. We stayed on campus at his university, with their students for most of our trip. But in total, five places.
Yeah. It was usually a day trip for each place that we went and visited.
So most of our trips were day trips. We stayed on campus at his university, with their students for most of our trip. But in total, 5 places.
Yeah. It was usually a day trip for each place that we went and visited.
That would be all like the, like spicy.
Yeah, the peppers.
There was this, yeah, really spicy
Yes.
Szechuan chicken that I wish that any of you showed. We actually had a culinary experience as well. A chef, professor from the university cooked for us 3 different dishes and we learned how to make them if anybody wants. I did make some of the chicken at home because my son really liked it. And we took some of the hot peppers from the kitchen. I asked him, of course, because it's kind of hard to find them. So, anything else?
The Beijing duck.
Oh, the duck. Yeah, the duck is very special. It's an acquired taste. Yes, she was raising her hand, I think. Go.
So, I heard like you have to pay like approximately $2,000. Does that cover everything, including food and transportation, or does that just cover your plane tickets and, like, what does it cover?
It covered everything but souvenirs, you want to bring them.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't have to worry about food. We were fed like a lot.
A lot.
A little too much. We had to say, okay, we cannot eat, but we were fed. Food was not an issue. We got to try everything. Quantity was not an issue. It was whatever you want. We were served. What else? And then travel, they paid for the travel, so we didn't have to pay for anything, not even the tickets or any of that stuff. The only thing we had to pay for is if we bought souvenirs. We had to pay for souvenirs, or if we want to try other things, because we would hang out late at night, so with midnight snacks, that's what we paid for. But again, it was very reasonable compared to like what it is in the U.S.
So you don't need to bring a large amount of money.
I was
No.
gonna say, I spent less than 100 USD for the entire trip.
So, but I have to clarify, because this was a very special program that is organized by this university in China. They get funding from the government for that particular program. Not all the study abroads that we organize at GSW can be that way. That was a special, unique program that they invited us to participate. But in all the other study abroads, the students pay certain portion of the cost. The university has different grants that help students with the payments, because you can qualify for a certain amount of money if you have a certain GPA, etc. So you just need to apply for those grants. It all depends on if we can put enough time to organize it early enough so we can get cheaper airfare and everything else cheaper, because if you do everything in the last moment, we can't afford such a cheap trips. But all of our students that have been to study abroad, they know we try our best to be as cheap as possible, because we know, guys, your students, you cannot afford large amounts of money to pay for a study abroad. This was a unique program. We've never had anything like that before. Any other questions from the students? Sorry. Yeah.
Are you able to go back to China?
Well, they don't know. We don't know. We could for a different program. We could for the same program. There is a time that has to pass, and the whole program has to be evaluated and has to be reapproved. So we are waiting to hear from them if we will be approved again for next summer or any other time. So we're just waiting, but we personally cannot say anything. We have to hear from the Chinese university. Yes.
What was the most culturally shocking?
It was clean. Like that was for me, that was shocking, because I thought, like I'm of Indian origin, so I thought going to China would be similar to India, but it was very clean. And I think the technology, that just amazed me. I'm a computer science major, so when I saw the technology, it just blew my mind, because I'm like, that's some serious coding that somebody did to have that kind of technology. And we were in Henan, which is like, it's considered rural China. And I was like, if this is rural China, I don't know what the cities look like, because we spent a very little bit of time in Beijing. We were mostly in Henan, but it was amazing. I mean, the technology, and it's very, very clean. And like most of my classmates pointed out, the inclusivity, Like I thought I knew like certain students may be popular because that's how it's in India. It's like if you're Caucasian, you're popular. But in China, we all were welcome. We all were inclusive. Like we did not feel like either or. Like you all need to feel a part of it. So I'll share my personal example because I'm a practicing Muslim, so I eat only halal food. And the students went out of their way to find halal food. And many times they would say, they were like, Fatima, Fatima. They didn't know what the food was called, so they would call it all different names. But they're like, that's your food, that's your food. So I just thought that was very touching because they didn't have to do it, and I really didn't, I'm used to just finding alternatives, but they were very, considerate, and not just me, but I think for everyone, we all felt included.
Yeah, and I think they would agree. We all felt very safe. They walked in the middle of the night, I don't know how late. People will stop you and be like, we want to take pictures with you. And we're like, okay. And they were so interested in where we come from, every single person, how we got together in this group. So very welcoming and super safe. Like we never felt, oh, we cannot walk out at 1 a.m. There was nothing to be afraid of. Yes, Dr. Johnson.
Two quick questions, and I've traveled to China twice, so it was wonderful to see your experiences and to hear how, in many cases, it was transformational for you. Y'all did a great job. Did you find communications a challenge? Did you have translators? How was the communication and any language barriers?
So the students that we interacted with were learning to teach Chinese to people of other languages, and they all spoke pretty well English. And then when we were out and about, we often had students who could translate for us. So.
Or fact.
Yeah, okay. And the second question I had, is there something that you really wish you had known before you went on the trip? Anything that looking at it now that you wish you knew? And I'll give you an example. For me, learning about some of the traditions before I traveled, so that I'd be aware of those traditions that, and kind of social norms that were expected was really helpful for me. Were there other things that you wish, or things you wish you had known?
Well, we were in China, we were pretty lucky to, most of the students were like always teaching us their ways. There wasn't a moment we were like, I don't know what to do, or if I'm supposed to do this. All the students and even the teachers were like, okay, you can do this, and if you don't want to do this, you can do this other way. So we felt like there wasn't something we could like not know. If we had a question, there was always like someone we could ask to, and if we had a question over something, or like Fatima that had the halal food, we were always helped in that ways. So I don't think we have something we couldn't know, or that we should know before going to the trip, because we were lucky to have someone that were teaching us the ways.
Yeah. That's great.
And I want to clarify about that maybe. So since I visited China the previous summer in Dr. Matter, we knew a little bit about that. We gave them the heads up. But they had such a different experience because they were immersed in the culture like students with Chinese students, that there was no uncomfortable situation, almost never, or something that you could do wrong, because we were not interacting with people really high at the university or like the government. We were very famous in the mall. When they put us on the first line for the presentation, we were like, okay. But I think it's just the way it was all set up. They allow us to be part of everything, and there were students that were helping all the time, and faculty if students were not available. But if you go by yourself and just go in a random small city, there's not many people that have seen people from elsewhere, and they don't speak English. So we were kind of lucky that they paired us with Chinese students that were studying English, and it was.
And because the whole thing was set up as a cultural exchange, so I don't think wanted us to completely, assimilate. They wanted their students to see how our students deal with different situations, how we would eat, how we do everything. Because, like was mentioned, most of the students we interacted with, they're looking to teach Chinese as a foreign language, or they're looking to teach English to Chinese speakers. Like they are trying to get a handle on our culture too. So we were in a uniquely supportive environment to just come together and do stuff.
And we were forbidden to eat with forks. Nobody ate with forks at any time. Just like no phones in my classes, no forks. Like if you can't eat with the chopsticks, use your hands, but no forks.
They were very nice. They would have let us use forks. We did not let us.
Yes. Any other question? Yes.
What parts of American culture did the Chinese kids ask y'all about the most?
I know they were asking about some of our dramas that we watch.
Yeah. I think they were curious about like what this campus looks like compared to theirs. They asked us to send pictures, and then they were also interested in, because when we did our opening ceremony with them, we did a lot of icebreakers, and they enjoyed it because they said normally when we have presentations, they just sit and watch. But with ours, we had interactive icebreakers, so they came and did Macarena with us, and played games. So they enjoyed that, and because they are so like strict and they have to behave a certain way. Like with us, I felt like they could be themselves. And I know when Dr. I did when they had the dragon, she asked us if we wanted to do it, and we did it. After we did it, they wanted to do it as well. So it's kind of like, I think it was a good like balance, because they were inspired by how open we were and the relationship we had with our professor, because I know there were students in class that were always like teasing Dr. I, because she would always say in Bulgaria, and they would be like, oh, it's in Bulgaria. And but it was like a fun banter, and they enjoyed that because they didn't do that with their professors,
Any other questions?
I also want to say something, because I remember I asked Dr. M to take a picture, and one of the students was like, oh my God, like he asked the professor, and then she wanted to give him a ride on a bike, and she's like, can I ask him? I'm like, yeah, just ask him. So she did ask him, and yeah, Dr. M rode a bike.
Yeah, by the way, those bikes, little electrical bikes, saved us because it was so hot, and the campus is what, 25,000? When they say, oh, we're gonna walk to the other building, well, that's a 30-hour walk in the middle of the day when it's 100 degrees. And we did it the first 2 days, and 2 or 3, and I told the director, I'm like, we need to do something about it. I'll pay for bikes, anything, so we can move a little faster and stay less in the sun. And they're like, you want to ride bikes? And they called all the students, they came with their electrical bikes, and since then we did this riding on somebody else's bike. But also, we wanted to ride our own bike, so we did rent one night, late, it was maybe 8. We drove bikes from campus to the middle of the downtown. We danced, Bulgarian dance.
And Tai
Chi. In our Tai Chi uniforms, and then we rode our bikes back, and it was like 11:30 or 12 when we came back. So, fun stuff. You cannot experience anything like that here in the American campuses, so it was a lot of fun. Any other questions? No other questions. If there are no other questions, I'm going to make one announcement, which is an early announcement, but I have to say it. Dr. Miller and I are trying to set up another study abroad for the spring break in 2026. In Europe this time, Western Europe, Italy, France, and Switzerland. So the moment the flyer is sent out, if you're interested, send us emails, filled out forms, but also, if you don't have passports and you're interested, get your passport now. Don't wait until you decide to travel abroad, because nowadays the passports take quite a while. Things can happen, so get your passport and be ready to go. We're going to work on the trip and try to make it as affordable as we can. And hopefully China again next summer. Any other questions for the students? If not, let's thank our speakers.